So what is a biodecoding session and what might it involve? And this really depends a lot on what you want to work with. I will send you a form before the session so you can give me more insight into what the issue that you're wanting to work on is. And when we meet, or before we meet, maybe I have some questions to clarify something beforehand, or some questions at the beginning of the session just based on the information you've given me on the form. But essentially what we're going to be doing is we want to access this bio feeling. If you remember in one of the other videos I talked about in the introduction, it's like this core emotional experience that we've had during a particular event, scenario, experience in our life that we were unable to express, we were unable to get support to move through, and we were unable to find a solution in that moment. And so the body is adapting to find the solution to our problem. And so we can find our way back to those experiences through feeling. So the session will involve accessing some feelings most likely, and also giving those feelings a moment to be expressed, to be witnessed. And that's really what the body is asking for, because that emotional isolation, which I also talked about in that video, is the thing that is keeping it stuck within us, that is like preventing us from finding the solution. So we're going to be looking at this feeling, and most likely we will be also going back to this programming event that I talked about also in another video. And we need to do that if we want to heal. And I just want to talk a little bit about the subconscious mind, because that's what we're going to be working with in a biodecoding session. Because if we consciously knew these things, if we knew what the issue was, if we knew what the solution was, then we would have no problem. We would have done those things already, and the body wouldn't have needed to adapt and express itself in this way. So we have to be aware of the fact that what is happening is outside of our conscious awareness, and so we do need to access the subconscious mind. And if we're willing to go there, it's not that difficult to access it. And you know, depending on different people, might have some different safety strategies in place to sort of avoid feeling and to avoid allowing, you know, the subconscious to bring to them, whether it's, you know, the memory or the moment, or to really access the feeling. There could be some layers there, and that makes sense, because that's our ways that we've kept ourselves safe in the past. So all those things are welcomed in a session. There's nothing wrong. It's about we're allowing, you know, the ways that we've adapted to cope to the things we've experienced in our life, to stay safe. And we're bringing awareness, curiosity, compassion, trust, safety to ourselves in that moment, to really then have the chance to uncover what it is that we need to uncover to help ourselves heal and resolve these patterns. So yeah, most likely we're going to be also tracing back to this programming event. And what I want to say about the subconscious mind is that for the subconscious mind, time does not exist, and everything is real. And also the symbolic is the language of the subconscious. And why does this matter? Well, if we're going to go back to something that happened in utero, when we were 2 years old, when we were 10 years old, when we were whatever age, whatever time in the past, our conscious rational mind could say, well, how do we change anything? It's happened, it's done, like that's it, there's no changing the past. And, you know, on one level of cognitive reality, that's true, like something has happened and we can't change what has happened. And on this subconscious level, time doesn't exist. So we can actually travel back to those moments, and we can create, repair, we can discover what the need was that we had at the time that wasn't met, what resources we needed that we didn't feel we could access It's not that we didn't have them inside us, but we didn't have access to them, the support that we needed, whatever it might be. Also seeing the beliefs that were created at this moment, and we can work on changing those beliefs at their origin. So then we don't struggle trying to just now override these things and convince ourselves that, well, that's a bad belief to have and I'm going to choose to not have that anymore. And, in some cases that could work, and there's different, ways to work on beliefs, and they can be very effective. And also going back to the birth, the origin of those beliefs and that emotional experience and all the, aspects of that experience. For the subconscious mind, those solutions are real. So that's a very important aspect of this work. And that might, if you've never experienced that, I understand, maybe it seems possibly strange, or possibly like, could it be true? And yeah, I mean, I just would invite you to be open and curious in that case, and and try and see what the experience is and what the impact of that is, because I've definitely experienced being able to go back and change my experience, and have felt the benefit and the real change of that. And I mean, in very obvious sort of simple everyday examples, we can see how this is true. I mean, if we're watching a frightening movie or television show, like a thriller, or whatever, just something that's like, we start sweating, like our heart starts racing out, like we can cry when something tragic happens in a movie. Why? You can feel how your physiology is responding as if it's real. If you imagine right now biting into a lemon, you'll start salivating, and that's just happening on the mental imaginary level. So that's an important aspect of this work, because it's what can make this profound shift possible, because the subconscious can receive the solutions going back into the past moment and receive it, and it will affect you now in the present, and even your timeline up until this moment. And so much about our conflicts is around what we actually make it mean, so rather than the actual experience itself, or the things that happen. And different people can experience the same thing and have very different reactions to that, make it mean very different things, and have either different conflicts or no conflicts. So we have to really become aware and conscious of the way that we project onto the external what's internal, what's our internal reality, what's the meaning that we're giving to events and people and circumstances, whatever it might be. And this, the more self-awareness than we have, we can actually reduce our chance of having conflicts, and triggers happen in the moment. But we need to go back and work on the ones that are already there, and especially that are getting activated as an ongoing thing. And there are 5 different kind of levels, I guess, of the therapy that we can work on. So there is this emotional awareness. So it's just having also just the cognitive recognition of, maybe the kind of conflict we might have experienced, and that's enough. That could be enough to make like the final, we're probably just in the final stage of resolving something. And then things might need to, like I said, happen on the mental level, on the belief level. Things might need to happen on an internal resource level. Things might actually need to happen where we go back and change the story, so to speak, really experience like a different reality in a moment. And that just depends on the person, on the nature of the conflict, on what they're working with, and how deeply it has impacted them. So in a biodecoding session, we can work on, like I said, going back to this programming event. We can work on connecting you back to your body. We can work on connecting to the specific organ or part of your body that you're experiencing symptoms. We can work on inflammation, headaches, pain that has no organic cause. We can work on physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, bringing ourselves back into our internal reference. That's really important. And neutralizing our fear of disease, because we can't heal in fear. So this part is also very important, this whole framework, understanding that it's actually not some scary, random, uncontrollable thing that's happening in our body unpredictably. It's actually something that we can understand, that's an expression, that's the body expressing in some way what we couldn't express. It's a message, it's our body calling out to us. And when we start looking at it like that, then we can just drop all the fear and we can listen to what our body's trying to say, and we can create a new level of intimacy, a new level of connection to ourselves, knowing that our body is the greatest revealer of truth, actually. Because mentally we can lie to ourselves, unawarely. And the body does not lie. If the body's telling you something, the body's telling you something, and that's telling you something about your subconscious. It's telling you something about your experience. It's telling you something about your needs, about your beliefs, who you are in the world, what you've experienced in the world, how it's impacted you, how you've structured your life maybe around it, or your personality has developed in response to certain experiences. And the more willing we are to be curious, to see ourselves, to hear, to listen, to understand, and to make changes, and to become a different person even, then the happier and healthier and more potential, more opportunity we have, more choice we have. So many of these experiences limit us in certain ways. They limit who we think we are, what we think we're capable of, what we think we can do in the world. And the more we sort of go back and integrate and move through these different layers and feel ourselves accessing the resources that we need to really show up for our life and who we truly are and who we want to be, then we just expand more and more as a person. And I believe that's what we're here for. So if you have any questions at all, I hope that gave a little bit of insight into what a session might involve, or a bit of a feeling of this work and what it can offer. And I'm really honoured to offer this work, and I love it so much. And if you have any questions, please reach out and let me know. Much love.